Comics Plus, what is going on? My name is Akasa, and I hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing swell. I am back in the studios. My apologies for the last week or so when I was not around in my proper unit, doing what we do best here, giving you the best in comic news. But out of the mountains, I'm here. We're about to talk about it. So we're streaming right now on Twitch. We've been having a long ass discussion. Like we're catching up on the whole deal with the Flash being canceled, having its final season, Batgirl being canceled, not ever to even air. It was shot, it was cut, it was shown to audiences, reshot, and all this other stuff. $100 million spent, and it's just it will never ever see the light of day. That is insane, man. That's just I can't imagine. Like, just put it, even if it's bad, I don't know, just put it on the street. I don't know. I don't get it. That's crazy. And then an update about that. One of the reasons they decided to shelve the thing is because they felt like they would actually save $15 to $20 million to not show the movie, to shelve it, like it's as a tax write-off situation. And I'm just like, that's crazy to me. It's just like, I thought that more people would be interested, like people would tune in to watch it on HBO Max. Like, I would check it out to see the old school Batman. I don't know if I agree with the story or whatever. I don't know much about what the story was going to be about, but just to tune in. And I think J.K. Simmons was there as Commissioner Gordon and some other stuff. Like, I think it's at least worth a watch. But obviously there's a lot of things going on at the WB right now, and so they had their investor call yesterday, and just some of the things that they were talking about here, we can go ahead and listen to it together. The main guy, who's like, he's not the Kevin Feige of DC films, but he's a guy who's basically part of this whole Warner Bros. Discovery thing. Here's the exact comments on the future of the WB.
DC is one of the top of the list for us. You look at Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. These are brands that are known everywhere in the world, and the ability to drive those all over the world with great story is a big opportunity for us. We have done a reset. We've restructured the business where we're going to focus, where there will be a team with a 10-year plan focusing just on DC. It's very similar to the structure that Alan Horn and Bob Iger put together very effectively with Kevin Feige at Disney. We think that we could build a long-term, much stronger, sustainable growth business out of DC. And as part of that, we're going to focus on quality. We're not going to release any film before it's ready. We're not going to release a film to make a quarter. We're not going to release a film the focus is going to be, how do we make each of these films in general as good as possible? But DC is something that we think we could make better, and we're focused on it now.
That's it. Now, one thing I will point out here is the fact that he mentions about doing a hard reset, so to speak, or he's doing a reset. They're not talking about story-wise. They're just talking about structure. To mine, again, it's an investor's call. I think they're just doing a reset. I'm like, look, whatever plans we're doing, again, like I said, I think offline or without the recording, is that, WB is just don't hire lunatic directors easy. Okay. WB is just hemorrhaging left and right, and they're just throwing they were just doing so many projects. And I personally, I have some issues with the way that that's handled, but that's also Hollywood in general. When James Gunn came aboard, and WB was able to snatch him up, they just gave him 3 options. They're like, look, you could either do Suicide Squad, Super Pets, and then maybe Superman. It was like they just gave him like three options of projects that they're thinking about, and he had the opportunity to just direct one of those, and he chose Suicide Squad. I believe that's the way it went down. Some of my history might be off a little bit, but that's one of those concerns, one of those things about like where's the plan here? Like, I guess that makes sense in some ways. That kind of makes sense for Hollywood land, but at the same time, it just makes it feel like, well, if you're gonna be director driven, that means they're gonna go their own direction. So if you're trying to make like a 10-year plan, you're going to have to do very much like what Marvel did. And outside, some controversy aside, yes, the fact that most of the Marvel movies have this synergy at the expense of not being director driven. I honestly could not even name 7 directors from the Marvel cinematic universe, right? Obviously, we got Russo brothers, Sam Raimi, I can't even go for 5, yo. I couldn't go for 5, right? So it's like, that's crazy, right? That is crazy, but it makes sense. Jon Favreau, okay, he did direct. Okay, that's right, he did. That's right. But I really only know him as like just Happy. Ryan Coogler, thank you, right? But see, that's kind of the point there. It's like, it's not like it's their image. It's not like you're gonna see like the Russo brothers from the visionary Russo brothers or something like that. When we hear these DC movies that come out, Matt Reeves, we automatically know the Batman, Suicide Squad, James Gunn, David Ayer, Zack Snyder, right? And I do think that there is kind of an issue with that if you're trying to build a 10-year plan, because all of them are just so different in the way they do things, and they all want to have their whole stamp on things. Pony Smasher, I can't even remember, David Sandberg, I believe. They all have their own way, but it looks a little chaotic. It looks a little out of place, and it doesn't look like things are matching the way they should be, right? And so that's going to be one of the things, is if you're going to have a 10-year plan of the way you're going to put out movies, you are going to need just like the comics, you're going to need like an editor-in-chief that's really up there making sure there's more of a synergy, like you will have the proper Batman and the proper Batman logos. And it seems like they had been trying to do that left and right with the DCEU, but then at the same time, when one director wants to say like, well, I want to do a Batman movie that's not connected to this universe, and their WB's like, well, okay, and then we have the problem that we do now with Batman. Not saying it's good at, like, because some people really do like the new Batman movie. Some people really do like the new Batman series, but the GCPD series that I think got changed into something else. But it gets really fucking confusing now for the average person. It's like, okay, so wait, this Batman is part of what? And then you're gonna have a Batgirl show over here. So I can understand if I'm Discovery and I'm coming in, I'm just like, and you don't know jack shit about comics and multiverse or whatever. You're just like, what? Like, what is going, even you could even argue the Harley Quinn animated universe. For some people, that would be hella confusing, right? Is that connected to Birds of Prey? Is that have anything to do with Margot Robbie or Suicide? No, it has nothing to do. And it's interesting in that sense, from a general perspective of like, okay, well, at least you kind of had something going with the DCEU. It wasn't doing the numbers that it could have, but there was something there. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah, Vice Versa makes a good point. I imagine a scenario of kids talking about Superman and realizing they're talking about completely different live action Superman, right? Exactly. Like while I was gone this entire week, I was doing this summer camp with a lot of kids, junior high school kids, and it's so interesting. It's by far interesting to me because they all like Marvel stuff. They all like the either they're either Spider-Man fans or they're Marvel fans, and usually both, right? But if you when you start talking to the MCU fans, they know all about it. They're into all of it. When you talk to them about Spider-Man, generally speaking, it's going to be the Tom Holland Spider-Man that they're familiar with, but they do, while watching No Way Home, they are aware that there are other Spider-Man in other universes. They don't really know much about them, but that's it. But they're de facto the Spider-Man of this generation by far is Tom Holland. But you know, if we were to go around, if we were to do the WB thing and release another amazing Spider-Man movie, that actually might be a little more confusing for the average person getting into this thing. I'd love to see another Amazing Spider-Man movie, but I can also understand why that would be a little schizophrenic, so to speak. So yeah, so it'll be very interesting to see about this whole 10-year plan that they are that what they're doing, if it's going to be a proper 10-year plan. My biggest guess, and so big, the one of the other issues is when they showed Aquaman. So from what I was reading, when they showed Aquaman, the in-credit scene with Michael Keaton's Batman show up, the audiences, the test audiences were really confused. They were just like, why is this Batman on? I'm assuming some of them were even like, who was that? Like, who is, like, that's a little different from, you know, the Batman of the DCEU. And so hence the reason why they brought Affleck back in to do a very similar scene, I suppose, to coincide with the Flash movie to pique interest for most people. So, you know, and again, as much as I love Michael Keaton, and I'm a big fan, I'm actually really interested to have him back. Sorry about that. I can also understand why that would be a little confusing for fans to want that, you know, like, you know, I've often said that WB, 10 years ago, WB should have taken a little hint from X-Men Future and Past, but Days of Future and Past, but at the same time, it's kind of like at least the X-Men just had built up a generation of that, and it was a one-time deal. You know what I mean? It was a one-time deal that worked, and they made it happen, and that was it. It was more of a guest thing. It wasn't like they were just continuing going. So, the DC has not really built up enough generational stuff in order to have that sort of Days of Future and Past situation. So, yeah, you know. Yeah, and you know, I think Stephanie makes a good point. It's like casual viewers are just not gonna. They're gonna watch it and they're not really gonna care. To be honest, like only people like you and me are gonna sit up here and talk for 13 minutes over these intricacies of the universes and blah blah blah. But the average audience, they're just gonna be like, okay, is it an actor I like? And then I'm just like, all right, they'll watch it, and then that's about it. It's like, whatever. At this camp that I was at, I heard this person talking about how bad Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was for them, but the main thing it came down to is they just didn't get it. They just didn't get it, and they're not part of that, and they don't watch these type of movies to begin with. So, you know, and I heard the same thing about Infinity War and Endgame. It was that, you know, when it was making all this money, you started getting some of the casuals to come in, and they would watch the movie, but they would be like, huh? Like, why is this popular type of deal, you know? The only other thing that I guess I'll mention really quickly is that during the call, HBO Max is going to go ahead and get integrated into Discovery. So Discovery will basically be the main de facto thing. And according to WB, their image, their idea of what the audiences really are coming from is the male audience is pretty much focused on the HBO Max area, scripted. They're a lean-in type of audience. They schedule it at a certain time, and it's the home of the fandoms, which is essentially what they're trying to say is we're just a bunch of fucking nerds. Like, we're just a bunch of fucking core geeks and nerds that will be upset over Batgirl getting canceled, will be upset over movies being delayed and things like that, right? This is just their nice way of saying that. The fandom. Discovery Plus is more female focused, 90-day marriage, 90-day fiance type of stuff, unscripted reality TV show. They're kind of a lean back, get the ice cream, potato chips, pretzels, and all that. Not the real Avik. Okay. Comfort viewing, it makes sense. The Bachelorette type of thing. My girlfriend's exactly the same way. The Instagrammer type of people that they're watching but not really watching, but it's not like they really need to focus. You don't really need to know the intricacy details of the Bachelorette, you know what I mean? And at the home of the genderdoms, yeah. And then also shout out to Adam Halvik for putting all these things together. And this is the kind of the way they see it under the studios. It's going to be WB, DC, you know, Warner Brothers Animation. The networks is going to be on this side. And then HBO Max is going to direct, what is that, digital TV type of thing. The one thing I did want to, with the core rate, yeah. So this is what, so they're shutting down CNN Palace. Restructuring the content of portfolio for scripted, linear, and kids, and animation direct to HBO Max films and international. So that's the restructure. That's the reset they're talking about. More balanced approach to extent content licensing. Greater accountability, alignment, and communication across businesses. I can't wait for Ray Fisher to bring that up in a tweet. And over here, this is the last thing I kind of wanted to really particularly look at is when you look at what the brand focus is now for them. This is what they consider. This is what Discovery WB consider to be their powerhouse licenses that is sellable, like that is going to be what the brands HBO, which honestly for me, I honestly didn't know HBO was this big outside of America or whatever, but you guys have told me over the years that yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Discovery, CNN, HGTV, I don't know what that is, like Home Garden Channel, Cartoon Network still up there, DC, and of course the Looney Tunes, the franchises. Again, it just goes back to it's the Trinity. And you know, well, the one thing I will say is at least Wonder Woman is there. That it is the Trinity that we're talking about. It isn't world's finest, which is still great for me. But just the fact that Wonder Woman has a place within that franchise, I think is great. I sometimes think it's a kind of affirmative action. It's a what do you call it? A forced hire type of thing, because I don't think Warner Brothers focuses enough on Wonder Woman the same way they do with Batman and Superman. You know, like where's the Wonder Woman game? Where's the more comics? Where is there an animated series? Have you put out? You'll put out a Harley Quinn series, but there's not a Wonder Woman animated series for people to, for women, girls, and just in general anybody to really get into, right? Super Pets, was there even a Wonder Woman pet in that one? I don't know, right? But anyways, yeah, virtual. I don't know if it's virtual signaling, but I think it's just more like they just kind of push it in there. Like you know, you could have a God of War Wonder Woman game, and men and women would get so into it. So I kind of feel like they just kind of shoved that one in there, because it was either a woman or some black person or something, but no. they don't have enough black representation in WB right now on these same powerhouses, you know. Batman, obviously, there, and Superman. Shark Week, Game of Thrones, interesting enough. I thought that was kind of unique, but obviously it's kind of clear, like, with what they're doing on HBO Max, and they're hoping that they can still continue this. 90 Day Fiance, from what I've heard, has done crazy numbers, actually. So people are shitting on it, but I'm like, you guys made it. You guys made it happen, right? Harry Potter, obviously, they will never let that die. And, you know, for those of you that get upset on Twitter and for other reasons, understand that WB already put a lot of money into this Harry Potter franchise. There's in no way for them. Harry Potter is essentially WB's Star Wars, basically. It's their Star Wars, and they're gonna utilize it to the end of time, you know. Iconic series and characters. Friends, yep, that's still the Big Bang Theory. I've never heard of Fixer Upper, but I guess Property Brothers, I guess. Drive-ins, I don't get it. Sex and the City, that is popular internationally. And then over here, TVN, I don't know any of these. But WB isn't really a powerhouse in Japan. So I guess that's it, guys. I guess that is basically it. If you guys have any questions, ask them now. But you know, this is what WB is talking about right now, and people aren't going to support Harry Potter if J.K. Rowling is a part of it. I believe I think that's a very loud minority of people, because most of the average audience, I believe, are not even familiar with the drama, and even I had to look into it. From what I've looked into, the accusations that she's had, I'm like, meh. I guess. Is that really like I thought, like, the way some people were acting was made it seem like she was really out there doing some stuff and like really out there being anti trans, and I'm just like, yeah, you know. So yeah, Harry Potter has gone beyond that of just one person. It's the same as Star Wars, right? Obi-Wan being bisexual, allegedly, or whatever. It's gone beyond just the person that created it. Like, it's become more. It's become a corporate entity at this point, just like Star Wars, just like Spider-Man, just like even Marvel, you can argue like that, right? So yeah, I don't care about it. I'm not buying the game, but there are people out there that will, you know, they're like, huh, what controversy, whatever. I don't care. You know, the same way where we're like, oh, we need to have this synergy within comics, and people are, oh yeah, whatever, I just want to see things blow up or whatever. Anyways, all right, well, I guess that's it, guys. We talked for about 23 minutes here, but that's what's going on with the WB and their investors call. Make sure to tune in within the next couple weeks, as we will probably be getting announcements about fandom coming up fairly soon. DC fandom probably in November or so. Probably, because I'm sure that WB really wants to get things rolling and let people know that, you know, the franchise is here. And hopefully that they're going to announce things where they'll have a better plan. I know that The Rock as well. There was some information I was reading about The Rock also trying to get himself, like, he's really trying to make it all about Black Adam, the Black Adam game, and like Black Adam versus a Superman, and with the Super Pets thing going on, and like he's really trying to sink his teeth in there. But in my personal opinion, I think we really need to wait and see how well that Black Adam movie is gonna pan out, because I think The Rock might be catching. He's a hype man, and that's good. But from what I'm seeing, it doesn't look like that same energy for Black Adam is really there. I think, if anything, Shazam seems like it's picking up more traction than The Rock right now. Than Black Adam right now. So I think we got to be careful about that, building up this whole universe. Let's not do what we've done with the WB quite often here. Is like build all this future projects, and you didn't even have like a strong success with the first thing, right? You know what I mean? All right. Well, anyways, let's do it. Red Nation, stand up, speak up. Let me know what you guys think, and I will talk to you on the next controversy. Peace.